to the Insurance Guys podcast. My name is Scott Howell, your fearless host and leader, insurance agency owner and insurance evangelist for I Protect Insurance and Financial Services, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. And before we get started on today's episode, please help me welcome. He is a 6'3" sophomore from Mobile, Alabama, parade first team All-American, Rivals 5-star recruit. He is a fantastic insurance agent and a great American. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and welcome the incomparable Mr. Bradley Flowers. How are you, Bradley?
You know, you don't know this, but every podcast session, I keep a rolling note list of stuff you say that I have to take out. Literally. And I send it.
Last 5 minutes, just you feverishly writing.
Well, that's what I was about to say is that this session, which this is the beginning of the second day for those of you listening, has been, I have no notes. You've been on very good behavior up until the last 5 minutes, but thankfully that was before we started recording. So that'll make it into the Patreon.
Oh my God, if we had a Patreon.
Every day we get one step closer to getting canceled.
If we had a Patreon. If we had a Patreon, Bradley, I would be picking out a Bell helicopter this afternoon, and you would be in Argentina looking for a private island off the coast of Argentina.
I remember when you got invited to the Orion 180 conference, and I was not going, and that's my biggest carrier, or one of my biggest carriers. At that time was my biggest carrier, and I was not going, and Chris May was going, and I called Chris, and I was like, you have one job. He said, what that? I'm like, you're Scott's handler this week. You have to make sure he keeps it between the buoys.
I did. Hey, so Bradley, I think we owe it to our audience to tell them what's happened. I get into Mobile Sunday night, check into my hotel, get into an ass tangling with Papa John's for 2 hours. So order Papa John's. Of course, they're like everybody else now. All these damn insurance carriers and all these insurance agents, they've gone automated. But I think when you do talk to somebody, it's an AI bot that you're talking to. So I tell them, I'm at the Hilton Garden Inn, 15 North Conception Street. Well, then once the driver puts your pizza in his vehicle to bring it to you as a delivery, they kind of hand the ball off to the driver, and they send you a text message, an automated text message that says, your driver's on the way. We're handing the ball off to them. If you have any issues, contact the driver. About 20 minutes.
Basically, it's in God's hands.
About 20 minutes goes by. Homeboy sends me a text. He's like, are you at a house or a hotel? And I said, hotel. I said, Hilton Garden Inn, 15 North Conception Street. Oh, well, I just dropped your pizza off here. And he sends me this house of a Section 8 house at 15 Conception Street.
So you have to go get your pizza from the front door of a random house.
No. So I'm standing outside fighting with a damn local Papa John's store that's like, dude, we delivered you damn pizza. I don't know what your problem is. I said, which hindsight 2020, I probably just should have forgotten it and ate the money, because that some bitch spit in my pizza or pulled a handful of pubes out and threw them all over my pizza before they delivered the second pizza. Anyway, I'm standing outside fighting with Papa John's. And I'm over by the gate that lets you in and out of the hotel, because, these hotels now, if you want to self-park, you have to pay $20, $30 a day.
Such extortion.
And you have your hotel room card. Well, I'm standing there fighting with Papa John's right by the arm that goes up and down for the gate. And all of a sudden, here comes off the main road, turns left into the Hilton Garden Inn, a white Jeep Wagoneer. Now, those sons of bitches cost about $100,000, but this was a rental because it had Ohio plates. And the first weird thing that happens is this Jeep pulls up to where I'm standing. Okay, I'm sitting where I'm sitting right now. From me to that screen of where our guest is watching us right now is about how far away I was from this vehicle. And this kid jumps out of the passenger side, runs around the vehicle, and uses the key and does the arm to get into the where you park. And then he spins around and runs back. And I thought, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just hand the key to the driver and let the driver reach out the window and do the key? That's weird, right? Well, simultaneously, while he was running around the car, for some reason, I guess just out of habit or whatever, the person that was driving that white Wagoneer hits the button and rolls the window down. And I'm standing 3 feet from him, and he looks me dead in my face, and I look at him, and I go, oh, my God, that is Tom Segura. That is Tom freaking Segura right there. Well, the kid runs around and jumps in the car, in the Wagoneer, and they pull straight ahead, and they park. You've seen the vehicle. They park, and I'm still standing there in awe that I just saw Tom Segura, and he parks the vehicle. The kid immediately jumps out of the vehicle. It looked like a videographer or somebody, and he starts getting bags. Like, it looked like camera equipment type bags.
At the very least, it's definitely a famous person.
So here comes the big reveal. The person that was driving, still don't know if it was Tom Segura, instead of getting out of the vehicle and being a normal person and walk, because now they're walking towards me, and this guy's got on a baseball cap and a really nice black leather backpack. And instead of just walking by me and going, hey man, what's up? Which I would have thought, oh, well, that's not Tom Segura. That's just some normal person. The closer he gets to me, because he could tell I'm still standing there kind of in awe that I just saw Tom Segura. But now he's walking towards me. He's got on a black baseball hat. He pulls it down over his eyes and then starts looking down at the ground.
Which is the universal symbol for...
Yeah, I'm famous and I don't want anybody to know who I am. So I get over here yesterday and Bradley goes... I tell Bradley the story, and I get over here, and Bradley goes, you know what you should do? He said, if that damn Wagoneer is still at that hotel when you get back, you need to go up to your room and write a note that says, I know you're here, love Garth Brooks, and put it on his windshield. That's what I did last night.
I can confirm.
And this morning...
I was not involved, though.
This morning, that vehicle at 8 o'clock this morning had left. So whoever was in that vehicle got a note that said, I know you're here, love Garth Brooks.
So they were either very confused. They might have been, if it was a famous person that looks like Tom Segura that wasn't him, they might have been pissed off that you thought that he looked like Tom Segura.
I don't
but
care.
It's like the whole famous person pulled the hat down. So I was in Publix a couple weeks ago, and I saw the lead singer from the Red Clay Strays who lives here, and he's got sunglasses. He's like 6'4",
yeah,
and he's got sunglasses on inside of Publix, and the sunglasses are what made me notice him. Right. If he hadn't had the sunglasses on, I never would have thought twice. But I was like, why does that person have sunglasses? I was like, oh, that's the dude from Red Clay Strays. What's up?
By the way, don't think I didn't when I walked out because of all my Marine Corps anti-terrorism training. Don't think I didn't look everywhere for cameras before I put that damn thing on there, because I thought, I'll be the son of a bitch that
gets arrested
for putting a note on Tom Segura's car.
Cole walked. I sent Cole that video last night. Cole walked in my office and said, this morning, are we sure Scott's not in jail right now? And then about that time you walked in the door.
Guys, we got a very special guest on the show today. I'm proud to have him on. I'm humbled to have him on. He's a podcaster. He's a thought leader. I want to give him the introduction that he's always deserved. Ladies and gentlemen, he is originally from Lexington, Kentucky, and he currently resides in Versailles, Kentucky, home of some very good bourbon, Woodford County. I believe that's Woodford Reserve. Is that correct, Bradley? Am I right about that? Mm-hmm. He is married to the beautiful Joanna. They have 3 beautiful babies, Hazel, Hudson, and Tate. And he started his scratch insurance agency. Oh, boy, I'd rather have bladder cancer surgery, I think, than have to start a damn scratch insurance agency right now. He started his scratch agency in 2019 via the Erie Scratch Agency Program. having never had a single job in insurance and was the single income earner in his home. Boy, I bet that was fun. That's a lot of ramen noodles right there, folks. Not advised or recommended, I know. I wanted to be on my own and had some family in the industry. Showed him the doors to knock on. They've grown their agency to a $500,000 revenue in under 6 years. That's fantastic. And just took that to $750,000 with an agency purchase. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound honor today to introduce to you all-star agent, podcaster, thought leader in the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Landry Fields. How are you, Landry?
Well, what do you say, guys? This is a surreal full circle moment as when you start an agency from less than scratch and you have very little resources out there in the world. I mean, this podcast was a big part of that as far as helping show me some of those tools, resources, people to start connecting with back in the day. So I appreciate you all having me on and appreciate all you all do.
Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
I want to talk about one thing and one thing only.
Yes,
Bourbon.
The bourbon snob. You're a bourbon snob for sure. It says on here.
Yeah, I'll just go
tell
ahead
me.
For sure.
Let's just
I'll go
get
ahead and take
into
that.
it. Let's just get into it.
Okay.
Tell me what your favorite is,
Eagle Rare.
and tell me something that you like that I may not have heard of.
Fireball.
All right. I mean, you're pretty well. I know Bradley.
The
you're
second one's going to be a hard one.
Yeah, you're a bourbon connoisseur for sure type of scenario. I mean, some of my favorites being in Woodford County, we pronounce it Versailles. I know it's Versailles technically, but everybody in Kentucky pronounces it Versailles. The Woodford Double Double. Are you familiar with that one, Bradley?
Familiar with double oaked, not double double. I don't. I don't like the double oaked. So if it's double oaked again.
Why do you not like the double oaked?
You know,
too
it's been to be
tasty?
honest, it's been a few years since I've had it. My palate might have changed.
Sure.
But I couldn't explain it, but I just didn't like it. I don't mind oaky.
Yeah.
You know,
So it's
but it also
super
could have
sweet.
been that the TikTok bourbon influencers overhyped double oaked tremendously, and it could have been that I was expecting something amazing. You know.
Yeah. So
what's the difference in the double and the double
not
oak?
quadruple, but it's tripled. So it's put into a third
Gotcha.
brand new oak barrel. It was only like released once a year at the distillery kind of scenario, and so it's definitely one of my favorite. But I'm also like a high proof guy.
Me too.
I'm like the dichotomy here where I have to have cream and sugar in my coffee, but yet I drink my bourbon straight neat at 130 proof all day. Like give me that stuff right there. Don't give me ice or anything like that, and so forth. But
Yeah.
I mean the Stag Juniors out there are some of my favorites.
Nice.
Obviously, I know I've got an E.H. Taylor barrel proof.
Yep.
I don't know if you've had the barrel proof before.
Yep.
On that
Yep.
one.
I have one of those at my house right now.
But no, so one I have not had. I have a bourbon over my shoulder here that's been sitting up in the corner of my office for 4 years, waiting for the moment to open it. I think there's only like 2,000 of them ever created.
Yeah.
And because of this agency purchase that will have gone through by the time this is this is released, I'm not gonna wait. I'm not gonna wait for like my kids to get married or grandkids
sure,
or like that. Like you gotta bust this stuff out and drink it, and so I drink everything I've got, and probably have 100+ bottles, 50 of which are open and all different in my house. But it is a 20-year barrel proof Four Roses.
Nice.
That was released at the distillery when they opened up their new welcome center like a few years back.
Nice.
So I show up like with a bunch of other idiots at like 8 a.m. in the morning thinking maybe they'll do something special, and I'm already like 900th in line and sit there in the cold and just talk bourbon for hours while you wait.
And that's fun because you have 100 people there that are around you that are all have the same interest.
You're with your people.
Yeah. My favorite right now, my two favorites are, let me tell you a quick story. So Natasha gets an AOR on $1 million account 4 or 5 months ago. It was several months ahead of renewal, but we got the AOR. And I went that day and bought an old Rip Van Winkle. And I was like, I'm going to hold, and I got a good deal on it. It ended up costing me about $300.
Okay.
Which I'll pay that all day long, every day. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going to save this for when that account closes. We ended up not getting it. So it's been killing me. I've been waiting on something, right? And so like 3 weeks ago, we got the email that we qualified for best practices, and I go running in the door at 4:30, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, we qualified for best practices. I'm opening this bottle, But my two favorites right now are Jack Daniel's Twice Barreled Rye, special release. I've got one more of those. I haven't seen any more because it's a special release. But the bottle that's my favorite, and that we've done a couple blind tastings with some friends, and it's one is Rare Character Exceptional Series. But there's a specific pick that there's a guy named Prav Sarah, who is a liquor store owner in Washington, D.C., and he is a world-renowned barrel picker. Like, people go to his store just to get his picks. He's got relationships, all the major distilleries. When you go into his store, they have so much stuff there, Scott, that they give you a menu when you walk in. Because they don't want you saying at the very top, they just hand you the menu, this is what it costs.
Right.
And they also ship. So I bought one of his picks of the Exceptional Series from him, and it was fantastic. So I'm in D.C. I don't think I told the story on the episode about D.C. So I'm in D.C., and I had a meeting with a congressman, right, who's happens to be running for Senate now. And so I'm in this congressman's office, and it's going okay, but I'm a little worn out by this point. We had a kind of a whirlwind day the day before, and I look down at my phone, and I have to be at the White House at 12 o'clock. And so I get on Google Maps, and I'm like, if I cut this meeting 20 minutes short, I'm going to have just enough time to go to Prav's store. So I literally go congressman's office, liquor store, White House. But I call an Uber from the congressman's office. Car pulls up. Have I told you the story? Car pulls up. I get in the car, and she goes, "Baby, it's too early to be going to the liquor store." And I said, "Well," I explained the whole thing, whatever. So I get there, and bought the bottle of Rare Character Exceptional Series they had, and I had a picture of the one I bought from him online a year before, was the exact same barrel.
Nice.
A year later. So anyway, it's kind of a funny story, but we're at the White House, and people are like, "Oh," again, I'm like, "Yeah, but look at this bottle that I bought today."
Hey, it's not too early. I mean, most of my collection comes from the early days when I started the scratch agency, when you just have to be out and amongst the people. And I'd go to a Bible study at 6 a.m., roll over to the liquor store at 7 a.m., sit there and stand in line with a bunch of other idiots till 10 a.m. to see what was on the truck. And that's how you kind of got the good stuff. And it'd be funny because like the night nurses would be coming into the store at the same time as us. And you're kind of looking at each other like, what are you doing here? Like, and they're getting like their Fireball to go to sleep or something like that.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, so whenever I go stand in line at one of these liquor stores, I wear a Portal shirt or a Portal hat, and almost every single time, because you're there long enough, you're talking about what you do for a living. Almost every single time I pick up somebody's insurance from those trips. So that makes it a tax write-off, Landry. Tax deduction. It's a business expense.
I do insure one distillery. I'm pretty proud of that. That's on cool. The Bourbon Trail. It's a smaller one, but yeah.
That is pretty cool. So I guess this is a good time to reveal, and I'll be happy to send both of you a mason jar of this if I can figure out how to get it shipped to you. But I started a distillery myself. It's called Moon Ridge Farms Distillery, and I make closet wine. Okay. So I've got 2 5-gallon glass containers of closet wine.
Do you really?
Yeah. I think the first one, because I did the first one about 12 weeks ago, back in May. So I'm getting ready to, that first batch, I'm going to get some cheesecloth and transfer it over to another big glass jar, but I got to get all the fruit and stuff out of it. But the second one probably won't be ready till October. But if it's good, I'll send y'all a bottle of it.
I thought you didn't like wine.
Well, it's my own, so
okay.
It's different. And then, big reveal here too is I'm trying to raise enough money to buy one of these real deal, corn liquor.
Stills,
the copper ones. Those sons of bitches now are about $4,000 or $5,000 a piece.
There's a dude on TikTok that sells a kit you can buy.
No, I know exactly. North Georgia, distillery or something like that. And he's got different kits depending on how much you want to make, right? Depending on if you want to make 3 gallons, 5 gallons, 10 gallons. But man, those things are expensive. But I want to get into making moonshine, corn liquor.
That fits right in with the population 79.
We'll see. But the reason I want to do it is I can start giving that shit out like it's Christmas gifts and stuff. Because people love to get a really good mason jar of moonshine. And buddy, Landry, you ever drank moonshine? Like good moonshine from up in Kentucky? West Virginia?
Sure.
I've had it once, and oh my gosh, that was not fun.
Well,
I drank it
you
straight.
take you about 3 sips of it and you're drunk.
Yeah.
Because you can run your lawnmower off or your tractor off of it. And really, the distilling process for moonshine is a lot like how they make oil, gasoline.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. It's really interesting, and there's an art to it. You got to have good corn. Just like up there in Kentucky where he's at and all these distilleries, you got to have great corn.
Good
and
water.
You got to have that damn water that runs through limestone.
Yep.
Which I have on my property. I've got the underground spring that's running through limestone. So I got the same thing that like Jim Beam, Woodford, all these guys have. It just, I'm in Alabama instead of up in Kentucky.
Yeah, you need those 4 seasons.
Yep, that's right. And so I got all the good stuff to do it. It's just, I'm just dipping my toe in it. Well, these boys up there at Woodford and all these, bourbon distilleries, man, they're full speed ahead. And then I was up in, I can't remember where I was. I was in, was it up around Cincinnati? They had that flood, and it really affected, I believe, Buffalo Trace.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's right. That's not too far. Have you all been to the Bourbon Trail, by the way? I mean, because like my house right now, I'm like 20 minutes from Woodford, from Wild Turkey, from Buffalo Trace. An hour from pretty much half the other ones, if not all of them.
Yeah, I haven't. That's been a trip I wanted to make, but we just haven't. My in-laws are going to the Ark later this year, and I'm trying to talk my wife into us going, but I don't go to the Ark.
Hey,
I go to the Bourbon
Trail.
I
will say, out of the distillery tours, and I've, some people have been on them. I've hosted a couple of them with the insurance community in different capacities in the past, but don't skip out on makers, even though whatever you think about the bourbon, okay.
Gives me a damn headache the next day.
But that is one of the best tours there is out of the tours that you can do.
Will they let you slam dunk it? Will they let you slam dunk it?
Yeah. You can pay to dunk your own bottle.
But will they let you slam dunk it though?
No,
because the slam dunk bottles where the wax goes all the way are worth more. So I was at a tasting here in Mobile, and they were letting you wax your own bottle, and I asked them if I could slam dunk it, and they said no. Because people pay more for those, and they do that on purpose. Like 1 out of every 100, the person that's doing the wax slam dunks it.
I'll be damned.
But this is real good insurance talk, guys. It's my fault totally. Let's talk about you have. I mean, I'm sure you've done a lot of research, and I'm sure this has been going on for a few years. But it's almost like kind of out of nowhere, you've kind of become the AI guy a little bit in insurance, and I mean that as a compliment. So let's get into that a little bit. Like, what led you down that path? And as agency owners, and particularly agency owners that play in the world that me, you, and Scott play in, we're always kind of looking for that edge. I'm sure it was a natural progression. You know what I mean? But you know way more about it than I do, which is why we wanted to bring you on here. And it's also a long time coming too. We should have had you on a long time ago.
No, I mean, I did kind of fall into it, honestly, just because of 2 reasons. One, scratch agency, I'm always looking for how can I have a higher rate of revenue and return with, scale with as little as possible. And AI, I think, is obviously going to be a big factor in that. You know that as well as I do, and able to scale our businesses in a way that's never been able to be done before. That, along with my curious artistic background, used to think I was making it as a musician in Nashville and so forth like that. Grateful for unanswered prayer that did not happen. But just from my artistic idea of building things, I think I was a little bit late to maybe a little bit aspect of the RPA method that we've been used to, with, the robotic processes scenarios with Zapier.
I thought a year and a half ago, I thought RPA was going to take over the industry. And then ChatGPT happened, and that kind of killed it a little bit.
Yeah, and so there's some rooms in there, and that's where MCP actually kind of comes into play a little bit there. But that, and then I also have, if I'm being completely transparent, I have some family that is high level hacking AI expert of sorts that also co-hosts the largest hacking podcast in America, and He's hacked on all the stuff that me and you and I use as far as the ABCs, wink, wink of stuff out there. So, I mean, OpenAI called him on our vacation to come hack him like 4 or 5 weeks ago. So we have a constant conversation. His office is, I mean, the house is literally a par 5 away from this desk right here. And so that's been a big factor. And so we've been in deep conversation ever since ChatGPT launched, between Thanksgiving and Christmas to 2022, I believe, 2022. And so a lot of it, I would say too, is a lot of just researching right now, because it's not like, you don't want to jump into anything just off the bat too heavy. And a lot of it's evolving and changing right now. So a lot of things that you're like, oh, I could do this right now. Looking at where the playbook and where the picture and the hockey puck is going, there's a lot of times I'm kind of like, well, that's cool, that's great, but I don't know if that's even going to be it may become even more viable, much easier from things that I know are coming down the road from the way I could do it right now. So why spend all this energy into pouring into changing something the way I could right now when I know it could become easier? And so a lot of it right now is more just educating myself.
Paying attention to what's going on. Paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah. I really believe by 2030 that my agency will become more and more of, in essence, a technology company and a marketing company at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things too. We were talking to Matthew from Gale yesterday, and I was like, man, like 90% of the AI tools that are out there now, as it relates to insurance, I'm very underwhelmed.
Thank you.
There's not many things out there that I'm like, wow, this is really cool. This is a game changer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's some stuff that I'm like, okay, yeah, I see use for that. I see use for all of it, but I'm just not that excited. You know what I mean? Like the thing that I've told every, whether it's like 101 Weston Labs board or whatever, where we tear apart startups. Show me how I can connect this tool to this tool using AI. That gets me excited. I don't, nothing else out there other than a few tools here or there get me like over the moon pumped. You know what I mean? And I feel like there's a lot of that can be done, but people are going for sort of the low hanging fruit a little bit. And I will tell you, like we had Matthew from Gale yesterday talked about they're building an AMS integration with their GPT where you can just ask it, hey, tell me what the average age of my customers is. Tell me this, tell me that, rather than
premium on an auto policy.
Which I think, because I mean, I don't know what AMS you're on, but like I'll spend 25 minutes looking for a report, and then once I find the report, I get the data in 2 seconds. But like if I could just ask something like that gets me excited, But there's a lot of stuff out there that I'm just like, meh. So that's when I saw you posting about MCPs and stuff, I kind of wanted to dig into what that is, because to be honest with you, I don't know what it is. Scott doesn't know what it is. I assume a lot of the listeners don't. And take us through some of the stuff that you're doing and how you plan on seeing that working in the future.
Are you saying MPS?
MCPs.
MCPs? Okay.
So yeah, Model Context Protocol is what that stands for. And I would say there's kind of 2 avenues of where we're going right now, which is A2A, agent to agent, which Google's kind of building out that protocol, which is going to be more where AI is just talking to each other. MCP is a scenario where you are able to, in essence, give the keys of the tools that you want AI to use and start being able to choose which ones it needs to do at what times. It's kind of the easier way, or maybe not even the keys to the rooms, like saying, hey, here's the key to the building. And then inside of this building, here's the keys I'm allowing you to control. So most of us are familiar with Zapier, right? From that robotic processes. Most people don't realize there's actually it's mcp.zapier.com.
I've seen that. Yeah.
You've seen that? Yeah. And so what you're doing there is you're connecting it to either an agentic AI scenario agent, whether that's N8N, that's a common Zapier kind of esque adjacent type of or you've got MCP server access now within Claude, which is like ChatGPT, or ChatGPT now has started launching that aspect of MCP. So MCP was created by Claude for that Claude system there, but it's not yet in the Google system, which is frustrating. But I know it's just a matter of time before they kind of slowly get to that. their security aspect, they're kind of like Apple, where they kind of go a little bit slower sometimes in some aspects of things, but they'll get there, maybe probably surpass it potentially. We'll see.
Yeah.
But in essence, it's the idea that, so when I was testing all this stuff out, I was using some other LLMs, large language models that were not ChatGPT because they didn't have the capabilities yet, but I was kind of like using like a Claude to test this stuff. And so just kind of paint a picture where the capabilities lie as far as the basics. And then we'll get into some more cooler stuff of where we're headed with it, which is I kind of was able to kind of say, hey, I'm going to give Claude the ability to post on LinkedIn or create service tickets in Agency Zoom. So because I went in there, connected this MCP server to Zapier to Claude, I now had a connecting points, and then inside, so that's getting it connecting to the building, and then inside the MCP's Zapier connection, I turned on, hey, you're able to create a ticket, but you're not able to create a new contact or this, that, or the other. You create, how there's different, obviously, calls and stuff like that. That's what I mean by keys to individual rooms. You can say which ones you're allowed to use, which ones you're not allowed to use as far as the agent side. So for a couple of test models we did with that, which was, hey, create a ticket for Landry Fields, assign to Landry Fields to do this with his policy. Boom. 1 second later, there's the ticket. And I did that in like a chat, Claude type of scenario, ChatGPT type of scenario.
Okay, so you're telling ChatGPT to do this thing, and then that's pretty cool.
What's the difference between Claude and ChatGPT? Is Claude just another form of ChatGPT?
Another large language
competitor,
model.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like 100 of them out there at least, type of scenario. And so that's the kind of the idea of where, I think really, and I've said this a couple times, but this idea of, I think we really, really become by the end of this decade more of like using our voice to do a whole lot more stuff.
Yeah.
Like emails can become a little bit antiquated type of scenario. And so I'm just going to be able to come to my office and just start talking to stuff like, hey, I need this done. And it starts getting happening. I did a LinkedIn
Here's what
test.
I want. Sorry, go ahead.
I did a LinkedIn test as far as this other test, which was, again, hey, I turned on the ability, gave it the keys on the MCP server, Zapier server side, saying, hey, you can do this. And so then on the, the Claude side, I said, hey, write a LinkedIn post. Again, I'm not connecting RPA stuff of, when this happens, then do this, then do this. The agentic aspect is deciding that, is say, hey, write a LinkedIn post about how MCPs were used in connecting this to create this post, this, that, or the other.
That's cool.
2 seconds later, my post is already there. I didn't have to prove it or anything. So those are kind of some at least high level tools there.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's a couple things that I would like to do. One, and we were talking to a couple people about this a few weeks ago, is I would love to have AI analyze all of my phone calls from a sales standpoint and point out who's doing things that are working, like trends, and who's doing things that aren't working, or maybe point out the differences, right? And then also put together like a list of like frequently asked questions, and then we can train on those questions. Like, hey, here are the 10. Because really, if you think about it, an insurance agency, like there's only about 10 things that a customer can ask for. Right? It's not that there's not that many. And so it's like, what are the most common asked questions, and use that as like, okay, first day, this is what we're going to train you on.
I'll tell you where the next iteration of that would go is the yellow brick road of sales.
Yeah.
And training an AI voice, if as they continue to improve. Right now they still sound CP3 robotic kind of.
Yeah.
But if you could train in 5 to 10 years from now, that yellow brick road of sales of, okay, once I say this, there's only about 4 things that person can say back to me to navigate the waters of prospecting for your agency.
Yeah. I'll tell you another thing that I want to do, Landry. This really has nothing to do with MCPs. It's more AI. I want somebody to find me a device or a program of some sort that I can run on my computer or on my phone or as a separate device. And I thought I could do it with Claude, but Claude doesn't. You got to have a strong Bluetooth connection. Like if you leave the room and your Claude device is in there going, it's going to disconnect, right? And I want to do this for me. I basically want a device in my office recording, in my personal office, recording 24/7. And I want at the end of the day that program to send me a summary email. Here's everything you said today. Here's everything that was said in your office today. Because people will stick their head in my office and tell me something important, but I'm right in the middle of something else important and I completely forget. You know how you go, you know what I mean? And I haven't been able to find that device that I can just let it go. You know what I mean? And I'm sure something like that's coming. There's a program called Cluely that lives on your computer. Pat from 101 Weston Labs told me about it. And I thought that was going to be it, but it really only works if you're on a Zoom call. So that's not a great option.
And by the way, Zoom will AI summarize now too.
Yeah, and then I've tried Granola and I've tried the Plod thing, but I haven't found that. But to me, that would be very useful in just hey, here's your daily, almost like as if I had an assistant there just taking notes on what I was doing all day. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Hey, hey Landry, to your point just a few minutes ago, you said where this thing's headed is voice. So about 4 years ago, I was listening to a keynote that Gary Vaynerchuk gave. Now, a lot of people will say Gary Vaynerchuk is a little bit like Nostradamus. Like he has called some things that hindsight 2020, you're like, damn, that's pretty remarkable that he called that. But I was listening to this keynote that he was giving, and it was about an hour and a half keynote, but he got into what's the future? What's the future? And he said, well, we started with email. Email was king. And then we kind of moved into this where we've been, which is that from a communication standpoint, text, people love, especially, short communications. They love text. Video's been king for a long time. But he said, but this was 4 years ago. He said, I really believe the future in 8 to 10 years is going to be voice.
Well, I'll tell you, I significantly asked Siri to do more for me now than I did even 2 months ago.
Right.
Especially a year ago, because I just don't feel like doing it. You know what I mean? I don't use voice to text that much because it tends to be wrong, but it is getting better.
Yeah, it's all everything we have right now is the worst it's going to be. Is
right? Yeah,
too.
That's a good.
That's a great.
By the way, I also have met Gary V. So I'll join your all's ranks there in that capacity. No, I met him in Vegas at a F1 race actually, cool. Which is awesome. I mean, because with MCP to kind of really wrap that up in some respects, but I like the idea of AI too, and I think painting a picture of where we're headed in that sense is important. Because MCP is only going to be part of it. I mean, what I mean by that is that really MCP allows you to kind of really connect into APIs that are out there. So it's an API connector at its core, meaning it's giving you the keys to do APIs and calls like that without having to sit there and really customize a robotic processes all along the way. And if it breaks, then it doesn't work, and you're kind of finding it. Yeah. I really believe my agents and staff will become more and more managers of AI. That's only kicks things to them when it can't get past something, or it needs an additional key or something unlocked like that.
Well, and that's my argument too to people. There's a rhetoric that like the E&O companies aren't going to cover mistakes by AI, but it's like the human directed it to do the thing that it's doing. And certainly there's going to be instances, but I messaged my E&O agent a couple months ago and I was like, hey, tell me what's going to happen. She's like, you're covered. Okay, good. That's all I need to know. Tell me that in writing. I'm good. We're not using any kind of crazy AI. Now, obviously, if you let it just go buck wild and there's no guardrails on it for sure, but that's basically the same as letting an unlicensed employee go buck wild,
Hey, Landry.
And I also sat in on a call with a big group. I don't remember the group, and they were talking about regulation for AI for insurance. And basically the consensus of the room, and these are people that have talked to DOI commissioners about it, the consensus in the room is all the regulation is going to be at the carrier level, not at the agent level.
So here's where I'm, as far as painting a picture of where I'm like, I don't really know how this is going to play out. In the sense of, and there's a part of MCP I want to make sure I wrap up on too, so don't let me forget. But where we're headed is I don't think I think people are underestimating where we are headed. We say that, yes, as far as regulation, but there's an aspect of like we've all lived in this world where we've been limited to the APIs that are given to us or that have been given to somebody that we're now
Right.
paying a fee for or something like that, right? I don't know, Bradley, if you've seen this or not. It's at least I don't think it's an end all be all, but I think it's a good place to at least frame a picture of where we're headed, which is there's a company called Warm Wind, like WARMWIND. You watched that video and it was like a ChatGPT 2022 moment for me again of understanding where we're headed, which is most of us have all used Loom to record videos of this, that, or the other, right? How easy is it to use Loom, right? You hit record, you say, this is the screen I'm wanting to record, and you start talking. The concept of this warm wind platform, and I think is where we're headed as we're going to be getting more and more of it. I know Google's getting ready to launch it where it's going to be more like browser AI. And so automating browser stuff is the concept here. And so this is the part I'm worrying about. I'm like trying to figure out how do we do that with the carriers and stuff like that? Because as simple as the demonstration, if you look up the YouTube video, is the idea of like he just basically hits a button like he's doing Loom and just starts talking and like recording a training video. So he's saying it's recording his voice, it's listening to his voice. In the training video, he's saying, hey, every morning go on to Google and type in and look for the, I don't know, weather or something like that for this town. And then he says, hey, don't use these links. I want you to go to this one right here. Clicks on that. And he's like, now I want you to find this particular city, it's just a test one, and then go in and send me an email of like the weather for the temperature for this city every morning at 8 a.m. Then clicks on stops recording. And that's as simple as it was. And so now on that computer is going to be taken over like a real human. And every morning at 8 a.m., it's going to be going to that website, finding it, going into email.
So Warm Wind does this?
It's like, yeah, warm, and it's still beta right now. I did look into it to get the beta. Again, I'm not necessarily, everything I'm doing is more of a training scenario to learn right now, before I ever try to implement or from a security standpoint do. So that's why I want to make sure to caution. But that's how easy it's going to be also to train on this stuff, that you're not going to be limited by APIs in some respects when you have what's called VLM, which is visual language model, which is the idea that it can move like a browser. You got ChatGPT browser use type of scenarios now, where it could just, again, start acting like a human on a real desktop. And I eventually foresee that I could have a computer that's just running and doing stuff like a human in my office here at some point within, or, maybe it's in the mornings where, hey, we need the human to come in and log in for certain aspects or something like that, or it kicks it to the human when it needs to for certain things to verify and check. That's where we're going to have to see how that plays out. But the idea of that I even need an API necessarily sometimes is not always going to be the case really anymore. Is where we're headed.
Well, and that's the thing that I was so excited about RPA, and I was like, hey, this like opens up the floodgates for what we can do, and AI is that times a million, right? But I remember when we built our Raider, we built it on RPA and some APIs, but me and a buddy that I built it with were at a regional carrier meeting. And this particular carrier is anti-Raider. They think their baby's the prettiest. They won't connect to any Raiders. And they were on our Raider and didn't know it. And somebody asked the question, are you guys ever going to be on PL Raider or whatever? And the guy just went on this tirade about, no, we're anti-Raider. We're not. And he ended it with, we're not on any Raiders. We will never be on any Raiders. And he turns around and looks at me and winks in the middle of the room, But the problem with RPA is a carrier could move a field a millimeter to the right that's not visual to the naked eye, and the bot freezes up. And when I say that happened every day, we had 3 carriers on there on RPA. Every single day, one of them made a change. So we were constantly doing dev work behind the scenes. Well, with AI, the AI is smart enough to usually figure that out. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you a story back to your original point. So I attended a tech conference in 2011, I believe. That was the first time I met Gary. And there was a guy there named, no, it wasn't 2011. It was 2013 and 2014. Anyway, there was a guy there named Robert Scoble. Have you ever heard of Robert Scoble?
I've heard the name.
He was the original like VR AR guy. Like he was like the first guy to like pioneer that. He ended up getting canceled a few years after this, but he showed a video there of a computer screen scrolling very quickly, scroll to the left, scroll to the right. And there was a guy standing there in front of it, but you couldn't see his hands. You couldn't see what he was doing or anything. Scrolling up, scrolling down, up, whatever, da-da-da-da-da-da. And at the end, he's like, do you know how this guy is controlling the screen? And nobody knew. And he said, with his eyeballs. And it was like, in 2013, 2014, that was like a holy crap. And even today, you know what I mean? And I don't remember if he had contact lenses in or if the screen was looking at him and could see what he was doing. I think it was contact lenses. Mm-hmm. But I just bought recently. Have you seen the TED Talk glasses? Mm-mm. Have you seen those? Mm-mm. So when you do a TED Talk, okay, you cannot use slides and you have to memorize your speech. There's no notes. There's nothing like that. It's you in a stage. And so they started noticing that a lot of these TED Talk people were wearing glasses. And so they bought these glasses that have a teleprompter, an AI teleprompter on the screen that you can't see from the other side, but they can see it. Mm-hmm. So I bought some. They're going to come in next week. We're going to play with them. But anyway, I was like, that'd be kind of cool to have. Like, I like speaking. I would love to try it. You know, I love, like, even though I mainly use those one time, I love trying stuff out. Like ChatGPT, like when they launched Operator, which is now called Agent, I believe, and it is available on all the plans. I bought the $200 a month plan because I wanted to test it out, you know, and I think that's like, I think your overall message to agents, and would be mine too, is like Portal, we're not using a ton of AI in our agents. We're using a little bit, but I think you need to test all of these tools, like pay attention to what's going on, because the way that you get hurt is by not paying attention. And then the thing comes that's going to disrupt things and you don't even know it exists yet. And by the time you do, all your competition's already using it. Because here's the thing, guys, like people like to think of the big boys as the slow movers. Like we talked to the CEO of an AI company yesterday that's been in 2 top 100 agencies in the last 2 weeks that are using this service. So it's the big boys are paying attention too, and you guys need to. And smaller agencies have a distinct advantage in that it takes us a week to implement something that it takes the big boys a few months, but you don't want to be a few months behind by the time you realize you need to do this thing.
Yeah, okay. I think there's a separation or a little bit of coming between opportunity to implement and grow or not and, shrink.
Okay, I've let you two nerd out as long as I can. Our mission on this podcast is to help insurance agents any way we can. What I need you two to understand is you two are flying an F-16 fighter jet in terms of your vernacular, your language, your understanding of AI, and talking about things like VLM and MCP and da-da-da-da-da. Here's what I need you two to understand. You're flying a fighter jet. Scott and the rest of the insurance agents, the 250,000 listening to this show right now, we're in a Cessna, a 1998 Cessna. Now, here's what I will agree with. I believe, because my agency force, my group at my agency, just like all these insurance agents listening to this, are kind of on the front end of starting to use things like Gale and ChatGPT. And let me tell you what they're using them for. They'll go to ChatGPT and say, help me write this email to a claims adjuster to defend my stance on an insurance claim. Something like that, okay? Here's what I need from the two of you, okay? You're in fighter jets, we're in Cessnas. Give this listening audience 3, 4, 5 different prompts that if they will do it this way instead of this way in either Gale or ChatGPT or one of the others out there that can help them get a better answer, like how to start a prompt that will be better than what they, instead of just going in there and saying, hey, write this email for me for a claims manager for this.
Perfect. So that's actually a great setup right there. So I tell a lot of people these days, I'm like, one, ChatGPT is great, but we have Gemini and we
Yep.
have Copilot already built into our ecosystems that we're already using each and every day.
See,
And
I
those are
think
going to continue to
Gemini
get
is
better and
trash.
better and better. And a lot of times Gemini is right there with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is using, or Copilot's using kind of OpenAI in the background anyway. But play around. I think the first step is playing around with what's called gems, which is like custom GPTs for Gemini, or you got custom GPTs for Copilot, which is the idea of like you're saving the prompt to begin with. So like there's all these AIs. We talk about that. We're like, hey, we can do policy scraping or we can do policy comparison. I'm like, that's great. I'm not going to pay you for a service that technically you can go do that in Gemini or Copilot today. You already have it in your fingertips. But I'm not a great prompter, if I'm going to be honest here. But guess who is a great prompter, Scott? The AI is also great at prompting. And so what I've done in a lot of these things where I have got my staff and here's a policy comparison, custom policy comparison gem or GPT scenario. Here's a one for this, that, or the other is I actually have one myself internally just for me. That is a prompt creator prompt in essence. So I went to, ChatGPT and said, hey, I need you to be an expert AI prompt engineer. So I want you to write me a custom GPT, blah, 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 blah prompt so that when I input what I need to be created, you're using that framework to, in essence, create the prompt for me type of scenario, right? It spat out this long thing. It was unbelievable what it spat out, including saying, don't, hallucinate this, that, or the other. I copied that, put it into the background, almost like a saved tutorial memory aspect of the custom gem I'm using. And so now I said, then I use that as my custom prompt builder now. And so every time when I wanted to go and create my custom policy scraper, I said, hey, I went to that prompt engineer prompt I've already saved and said, I need you to build out an insurance engineer, policy comparison to spit out this, that, or the other. When I upload multiple documents, again, I'm inside Gemini. So I'm inside of the ecosystem I'm already using from a security standpoint. We're already trusting for, Google Drive, this, that, or the other, or vice versa with Copilot. And then it spits out this incredible prompt to be a policy comparison because it knows how to prompt 100x times better than I do. So I think that's a basic way to get way, way, way more out of it than we ever could just by trial and error, trying to prompt and trying to remember every aspect of things. It's kind of like build out something, letting itself build out itself type of scenario.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Is a great
asking
place to
it,
start.
so basically you're asking that language model, hey, you're an expert in policy prompt engineering. Build me a prompt for this thing in the insurance space.
Yeah. And it'll spit out something 10x times our capabilities already out the gate.
Wow.
I'll tell you. So I drive a Tesla, and I got the Grok update last week. So my car now has Grok.
What is Grok? I don't
Dude, I use that over Siri all day.
Do what?
I use that I don't use Siri anymore. I use that.
Do you have a Tesla?
No, but I use Grok on my phone all day.
I thought Grok was the tight end for the Patriots.
That's Gronk. Grok is Elon's version of ChatGPT. It's Elon's answer to ChatGPT because he hates Sam Altman.
It's not a rapper.
No, they built it.
Okay.
But it's in my car. I'll show it to you today. I can just hit the little button and talk. It can't do anything to the car yet, but I can essentially do anything that I would do on Grok through my voice in my car, which is really cool.
Can I ask you guys another question that I hear people doing relative to artificial intelligence? How do you ask a language model, again, Gemini, Grok?
Let me show you Grok real quick. Hang on.
ChatGPT. How do you ask it to write? So I hear people all the time saying, write in my style. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I want ChatGPT or Gale or one of these other language models to write in a style like Scott Howell, I will assume it has to have something that I've written to be able to write in my style. But how do you just write something and then you put it in there?
Your history of everything you've been discussing with it, typing in there.
How do I get it my history? What do you mean How do I get the language? How do I get the language model my history? What do you mean?
I mean, it's kind of there's a history aspect of everything you've typed into, ChatGPT, this, that, or the other, and you can kind of select in the settings whether to remember the history or not to remember history. A lot of times in the LLMs, and so if it remembers the history of everything you've been communicating with it, then it has more of an idea of how you speak, type, this, that, or the other.
All right, watch this.
I'm feeling a little spiked.
Hey, Grok, tell me about Scott Howell from the Insurance Guys podcast.
Yay.
Scott Howell is a co-host of the Insurance Guys podcast, a show dedicated to insurance agents, where he and Bradley Flowers dive into the nitty-gritty of running a successful agency. He's also the principal of I Protect Insurance and Financial Services, Inc., based in the Huntsville, Decatur, Albertville area. From what I gather, Scott's a charismatic, high-energy guy who's all about hustle, sharing real-world insights on hiring, sales, and navigating the daily grind of the insurance world. The podcast, which has been running with Bradley since 2017, covers everything from tech innovations.
Hey, Grok, is Scott a handsome man?
Oh, God, what a great question.
Oh, Bradley, you're diving right into the juicy questions. I don't have a clear view of Scott Howell's looks, sadly. No verified images to judge his charm by. But from the vibe he gives off on the Insurance Guys podcast, with that confident, high-energy style, I bet he's got a certain swagger that makes him pretty darn appealing. What do you think? Got a mental picture of him yet? Or are you fishing for more details?
All right, that was sexy mode. I'm going to
I was
change
going to
it.
say, did you have one of those modes on?
I'm going to change it to unhinged. Hey, Grok, tell me what you think about insurance.
Insurance? What a fucking scam, Bradley. It's a soul-sucking vortex where you fork over your hard-earned cash to some pinstripe.
Hey, Grok, you're wrong, because I have been at someone's house standing in the ashes and delivered them a check to rebuild their house.
Oh, Bradley, you're out here playing Smokey the Bear with a checkbook, huh? All right, fine. You caught me with my pants down. Sometimes insurance does cough up the dough, and I bet you felt like a goddamn hero handing over that rebuilt check in the middle of some poor...
Good Lord, Bradley.
Yeah, Grok's the only one that has like these other modes, like sexy
Elon,
or unhinged,
but it's got like
or argumentative.
assistant mode. You know what I like doing is saving my chats that I've had. So like, I have a specific diet I stick to, which I'm not going to stick to today because we're having cheeseburgers for lunch. But I'll post it in there. Hey, can I eat this?
We're not going to the Thai place?
There's something else I want you to try that I think's pretty good. Okay. I'm trying to culture you, Scott. You go to Moe's and Thai every time you come here. But the thing is like, I think for the average agent listening out there, Scott, which is where you were going originally, is I would just pay attention to what's going on. You know what I mean? And look for things that may not necessarily directly benefit the agency, but that can help you. You know, that's why I'm a big fan of Superhuman. You asked like writing in my style. So like, my Superhuman account writes emails for me, but the data set that it uses to write the email are my old emails.
Right.
So it writes 99% of the time it writes it like me.
Did you see where I tagged you on a Twitter when somebody was asking about
Superhuman? It was you, wasn't it?
Was it Landry?
It may have been Landon. It was Landon Bentham.
That's what it was. Landon. Yeah, Landon Bentham. Did you respond to that, or did you just?
I didn't, because Landon knows I use it, and I feel like he would have reached. He's probably trying to find other people, but Customer IQ is another company I have no affiliation with that's building a Superhuman competitor, but it lives inside Gmail. You don't have to use their interface.
What's that one called?
Customer IQ.
Is it not ready?
It's not quite ready, but they're really close. They've got some beta users, but I'll tell you something else I did, Landry. So I had a buddy that is running for political office here in town. And he reached out to me and asked me if I would have Rand make a video for him announcing his candidacy. So he sent me the script that he wrote, and it was okay. You know, and Rand had the full like teleprompter set up. It was okay. So I threw it in ChatGPT and I said, rewrite this, but write it like Chris Voss is saying it. And it wrote a freaking jam up script. So what we didn't want to hurt his feelings. So I was like, hey, look, I've got the one that you wrote, and I've got another one that we wrote. I want you to record both of them. And so he recorded both of them. And then I we sent him both videos, edited both videos, and I basically said, hey, and this guy's 65 years old. I said, I'm just going to let you pick which one to post. And they ended up posting the one that ChatGPT wrote. You know, so there's little things like that. And I mean, basically, like I use ChatGPT or Grok or whatever I'm in the mood to use as my Google now.
Oh, yeah.
Because the thing is, like when you Google something, you have to sit there and search for the right link or the right answer. Whereas ChatGPT, it basically finds it for you, you know, and there's so many useful things. So and this is just me speaking to the average agent, right? There's probably not doing anything. So like, I have a Rainbird sprinkler system at my house, right?
Humble flex.
And they have an app now where you can turn it on and off. Well, I'm running into this issue where, when it's raining, my sprinklers are still going. Right? Obviously, I don't want to do that. And so my brother-in-law was like, download the app and connect it. So I downloaded the app, and I don't know anything about internet, but it wouldn't connect to my internet because I have a 5 gigahertz, whatever that means, internet system. And this app only connects to 2.4 gigahertz.
Oh, wow.
And so he and I couldn't figure it out. So I literally just posted in ChatGPT and said, how do I
override this? Or how do I connect
here's
this?
the thing. 5 gigahertz is faster internet.
Correct.
But 2.4 reaches further.
Didn't
and
know
I
that.
assume that's why it's not as fast, because it's casting a wider range. And so it basically, ChatGPT last night, and he and I have been like fooling with this for a few weeks. I'm like, why didn't I think about asking ChatGPT? So ChatGPT was like, buy this Wi-Fi extender. This Wi-Fi extender will convert
to 2.4.
5 to 2.4. And then once you connect it, you can actually unplug the extender.
Wow.
So you could actually.
Did it work? Have you tried it?
I ordered it last night. It'll be here tomorrow, but I'm home all day tomorrow, so I can't wait to fool with it. But it even was like, basically you can like open this package, plug it in, connect it, and then return it to Amazon. That was like the quickest way. But like, there's so many like little life things like that throughout the day that you can use this for that I think are valuable. And the thing is, it's like I saw a video from somebody. I think it was Sam Altman, and he was like, "We will never be as smart as AI is." But I actually disagree with that, because we're the ones using the AI. So if you think about like the access to data and the access to information, I told Natasha here a couple weeks ago, I was like, we are living in the best day and age that we could possibly live in right now. Because so we just bought this Airbnb. Natasha is about to do some real estate on her own, and we're getting all of our info from ChatGPT and Google. Think about our grandparents. They would have to find somebody that knows this info, but we have all of this information at our disposal. So as a human race, we are significantly more smarter now because we have it in our pocket. And I want to dedicate that message to my high school English teacher, who said I would never have all the info in my pocket. But at the same time, that also creates more competition.
Sure.
So it's like a pick your poison thing. Yeah. I would rather live in today's day and age than 40 years ago.
Hey, Landry, I got a question for you and Bradley to kind of wrap this podcast up. I hate to make you look in your crystal ball for a minute, but to Bradley's point he just made relative to what these learning models, the Chat GPTs, the Gales of the world are doing. My issue, I don't necessarily think that we're going to be smarter than AI, because it's like a teenager learning. Like, it's absorbing so much information every day to get smarter and smarter and smarter. Where I think the train runs off the tracks is emotional intelligence. That a human being, like for instance, Rand, who's sitting over there right now. I walk in the door this morning, and whether I'm in a good mood, a bad mood, or right down the middle of the fairway, human beings have that ability to almost that sixth sense to pick up on, oh shit, Scott's in a bad mood, or Scott's in a great mood, or Scott's in a whatever mood. A perfect example, another example would be your parents or your wife. When you call them on the phone, you can pick up in a nanosecond what kind of mood they're in, right? I don't know how these language models, I don't know if I'm sure at some point they'll get to where they can pick up on emotional intelligence. But my question is, for the two of you, how long are we away from extracting salespeople out of our organizations and having a language model that is smart enough both in intelligence, understanding, and emotional intelligence for us to go, hey, Susan, you've done a great job for us for the last 15 years as a personal lines agent. You're serviceable, you're okay, but I can now take an artificial intelligence avatar, put them in your sales role. And by the way, they don't care whether somebody says no to them or not. Mm-hmm. And they'll make 150 calls a day. That's just what they do. That's their only job. And they understand enough, and they have that, the speech of that artificial intelligence avatar is so good that the human on the other side doesn't know that they're speaking to a robot, basically. How far are we away from that?
I mean, I think we're only within 12 months or something like that from that being plausible in a lot of ways.
See, that to me is a game changer.
It is, and that's why I see my staff becoming more and more.
The phone is the greatest sales tool ever devised. Now, I understand large mid-market accounts, you got to go out, you got to go see them, you got to go get in front of somebody, figure out who the decision maker is. But especially for things like home, auto, renters, the one-off monoline business auto policy, if you can get to a point where you've got an avatar or a what do you call that? Like a robot that can call that person and carry on this conversation, and from front to end, that person never knows they're talking to a robot. That's a game changer in our industry, guys.
It is. I can't wait till I can, again, education-wise, pulling all these things together. There's a thing called HeyGen. I don't know if you've seen that, Bradley, at all. HeyGen. It's I think, a better competitor to Synthesia out there as far as video avatars. But I mean, within 12 months, we should be able to have quotes being built out in video quote format with me or one of my agents or whoever is the account holder, and it's that avatar with their voice doing a video proposal, but they're not actually hitting record anymore on Loom or this, that, or the other. You should be able to simply just upload the proposal, this, that, or the other. It puts it together, it sends it off, type of scenario is part of where we're headed. I don't want to skip over this part though, Scott, as far as helping where we're going with this too, and to that point, which is Google's not quite there, unfortunately, yet. I think they delay things a lot, but Copilot Studio is a game changer right now as far as if you've played around with that at all. For those that are out there, I know a lot are on the Microsoft side of things, but that is almost like Zapier's being built into your systems as far as processes, flows, and this, that, or the other. It's fairly robust and it includes MCP server connectivity. To wrap that part up, you can create your own MCP servers, which is an interesting concept. Basically, I think the way to describe that is, how frustrating has it ever been where we have an API for something, but say Zapier doesn't actually have that API integration, right? And so it feels like, okay, well, we can't really do as much as what we wanted to do with this integration. The idea, it takes a little bit of coding. I'm not a coder, but the reality is AI is. And so if you just send screenshots to ChatGPT, they can simply walk you through some of this stuff. But you can therefore create an MCP server using the API that you may have to some company that hasn't built out something. So then you can start using AI to then call in different aspects of that API if Zapier doesn't have it, this, that, or the other. Another real quick tool for those who do want to dive into it more is something called docker.com, which is a way where you could potentially just add the Docker MCP server, and then inside of that is where you connect everything, rather than under your ChatGPT MCP server, you adding Zapier, you're adding this, it can kind of become a little bit cumbersome if you start adding all of these things. Docker is a little bit of an easier way to connect to one system that then you can kind of connect all of it in there.
When you say adding all these things, what do you mean by that?
So every company could have an MCP server technically. Yeah. So, I mean, because think of it as, again, it's a tool to kind of amplify existing APIs, which is the benefit there. And so if every single carrier, here's an argument to say that a carrier should actually have an MCP server that I could connect to, type of scenario. Right. I don't know if that'll ever happen.
All right, now, let me ask you another question before I let you go. Both of y'all. So we know that the three of us sitting on this podcast and every person listening to this podcast from the agency side, whether they're captive or independent, we are like there. If this was an ocean, we're like the smallest fish in that ocean. But there are some whales out there, i.e., insurance carriers that are spending hundreds of millions, if not billions, with a B, on this AI stuff, correct? I mean, they are spending serious money. Are these carriers using platforms and getting together to say, hey, we need to connect all of our stuff in one platform or multiple platforms, but it's the same stuff? Or is each one agnostic and this person's using this type of platform, or this carrier's using this type of platform, this carrier? So in essence, we're just going to stay exactly like we've always been, which is why we can't connect anything.
I don't know. I don't know if they're. I honestly, my guess is they're not as into it as in some ways as I would think, or thinking where the picture is going. Sometimes, I mean, like I think the basic area a lot of them are going right now is the underwriters and stuff like that, and there should be a lot more processes being able to underwrite things in a quicker, speedier way, getting back answers and stuff like that. So I'm assuming, I know some of them are already working on that type of thing. Whether as far as connectivity, I don't know. Again, AI, where it's headed. Do I need your connectivity? Maybe not. I might be able to just automate it like it's a real human using your system on the browser side of things, and automate the browser to do what a human used to do on your interface without even needing an API. So I'm not as worried about that necessarily in some respects, assuming the security stuff is all sound.
I'll tell you another.
You think they're full speed throttle down on AI?
The carriers?
Yes, to improve profitability and cut some fat that they can go. Well,
I think you've got two groups. I think you've got the insurtech carriers that definitely are. I think the legacy carriers are probably spending way too much money to a consultant to try and tell them how to do this, and they're not actually doing it. I mean that as a broad brushstroke. I'm sure there are some that are paying attention to it.
I tell you where I think they're cut. I tell you where I think they're spending the most time and the most money to save the most money is utilizing a lot of what we talked about today, artificial intelligence, for underwriting.
Yeah.
To cut out, call it half to 3/4 of their underwriting roles that they can go, why do we need to pay this sumbitch over here $100,000, $70,000, $60,000 a year to underwrite when we can use a lot of the stuff we talked about today, and for especially simple accounts, renters, home, auto, and buddy, it'll tell you that fast whether this qualifies or not.
The other thing you have to think about too, from the carrier standpoint, put yourself in the shoes of a CEO of a Fortune 500 company with 2,000 employees. There's an office politics political aspect to that too. And I know this from my time at Alpha. I'll give you an example. So Alpha implemented Guidewire in like 2015, 2016. Right. And this was like the big project, right? It was actually that year, it was the largest technology project of any insurance carrier in America. It cost $100 million for them to implement it, probably more. There was, because Alpha at that time was using literal humans manually underwriting. Like we literally, Landry, filled out a paper PDF application on the computer, printed it out, and mailed it to the home office, and it went to a human's desk, and the human underwrote the property.
Like stamp on an envelope.
Yeah, and Guidewire eliminated a lot of that, and there was major concern amongst the underwriters of that, were they going to be out of a job? And what ended up happening is it had the inverse effect in that transition period, because the underwriters would intentionally keep files on their desk for longer than they needed to. That way they looked really, really busy. And, oh, we don't need to get rid of Landry. He has a lot of you know what I mean? So there's a political aspect to this if you're the CEO of one of these companies because, you know, yeah, the agents are one of the most important, but they don't have to see their face every day. They've got these 1,000 employees that work in their building.
Yeah.
So it's a touchy subject for a lot of these CEOs because if you go too hard, all of a sudden your culture turns the wrong way and you have a revolt and people are like pissed off that you're eliminating their job and that sort of thing. You know, because you got to remember that the majority of corporate employees don't think the way that we do. You know what I mean? And so that's another thing I think the carriers are being very careful with to not just go full bore. We're going to use this to replace underwriters. You know what I mean? Now, a smarter way to do it would be able to say, hey, yeah, we're doing this, but you're not going to be out of a job. We're just going to find something else for you to do. And I tell my team that too. Like if we implement some sort of technology that we're doing it to make you more productive, not get rid of you. You know?
Yeah, well, instead of doing that, I think the right thing to do would be to say, this is going to free you up to work on the hard stuff, the stuff that maybe does have some hair on it or does.
But again, think about the average corporate employee that's got their pension. They want to do just enough to get by to clock out at 5 o'clock. Think about an underwriter personality for, I'm not disagreeing with you, but they're like, damn, I don't want to do the hard stuff. I just want to do.
If you've been there 17 years,
for sure.
You're just trying to ride it out to the
100%. And think about this too. If I'm a RVP or a VP, you know, I'm fifth in command of some big company, right? And I know we need to do this AI stuff, but I've been there 17 years and I have 8 more to go to get my pension. I ain't rocking the boat. And I think that's a big problem a lot of companies have, especially in insurance. You know, like when I was at Alpha, I would go to my manager and say, hey, we need to do this. We need to do this now. And all of a sudden that message would like get diluted on its way up to the higher ups because he's like, hey, I'm not gonna rock the boat. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna
get a lot of blockbuster movie rental.
Yeah, exactly.
I promise I'm about to shut this down, but I'm gonna tell y'all the other area that this could be huge in the insurance industry is property adjusters in a very short time frame. I don't think they are now because I got a couple of dear great friends of mine that are property adjusters with Pilot. They still stay in front of a computer all the time running Xactimate. Yep. But I'm telling y'all right now, it's going to get to a point to where as a Pilot independent adjuster, you should be able to go out, drive over to Cheryl and Jim Branson's house who had a kitchen fire, snap about 15, 20, 30 pictures, write a few notes, download that, upload that into some kind of program that's artificial intelligence, Chat GPT, and that son of a bitch in about 10 seconds ought to spit out, here's here's the material list of everything that needs to be fixed. Here's the cost. Here's the labor. And that ought to be getting done that fast.
Yeah. I'll tell you something else. I was talking to CJ about this the other day, and I'll just put this out there if somebody wants to do this. A question I see a lot in all of the groups online is, who do you guys use for your RCs? Especially commercial, but personal lines too. If there's someone out there that knows how to create a GPT where I can put an address in and it pulls all of the info from public records.
Yeah.
And if there's a discrepancy, it gives me the option to select, okay, it's 1,975 square feet, not 1,800, and then spits out an MSB report.
I would think that already exists.
Come to Scott and Bradley, and we will help you promote it. Hey, if somebody wants to create that.
Does that not already exist?
Well, I did it the other day on ChatGPT. I basically said, hey, I've got this building. Use average rebuild cost in Mobile, Alabama, and find me a whatever, and it did it. But
it could go see the picture of it on Google.
The issue with that, and now this was a E&S carrier that really didn't care. They don't ask for an MSB, right? And I had already manually done it. And
what was the delta?
There wasn't one. It was right on the number.
Damn.
But the question is a carrier going to accept that? So I'm sure Marshall Swift and Bosch licenses their stuff.
Oh yeah.
Right. If somebody could find a way to meld that along with a GPT and create that, like that could be money.
Or just create a prompt. It connects to a warm wind, a cursor scenario. It just goes into your own system, does it for you, and spits it back out.
Correct. Which I think you could probably do right now when you hang up this podcast. I think you could find something out there
that's what I'm saying. There is so much right now, and that's why at least the adaptability of the future is going to be the key word, that we're going to have to be adaptable for where we're headed type of scenario. And so a lot of that adapting is going to just learning right now. And just if you want to start someplace, start with, your co-pilots and your Geminis right where you're at. We've already offloaded a lot of our stuff that used to be on our intranet into kind of say Google Drive, because then you can just recall it by just going into Gemini. Any of the staff that has a shared folder with that, they can go into Gemini, put ampersand, select Google Drive, and then ask it any question that's in there, and it'll find the question, whether it's underwriting guidelines, carrier codes, roof schedules, work comp codes, whatever it needs. And you can just, rather than you searching through the intranet anymore to try to find it type of scenario, we're just like, ask the AI, it knows where it's at in Drive and can get you the answer in 5 seconds rather than you trying to look for it itself.
Landry, thank you for being on the show today. I'm about to piss in my pants.
Me too.
We love you. We appreciate you guys. I hope you got something out of this today. Not telling y'all you need to go become an expert in this, but buddy, if you'll go to ChatGPT or go to Gemini in your G Suites account, or I think Microsoft. What is it, Microsoft? If you use like Outlook or something, don't they have some kind of Grok, Grok?
I don't know what Microsoft's doing, but I'm sure it's awful.
You could just type.
Actually, Microsoft's an investor in OpenAI, aren't they?
Yeah, they've got a long way.
I just stuck my foot in my mouth.
And by the way, the AIRockstars.com for a lot of resources where you can start helping out people too.
Say that again.
The AIRockstars.com. Where I'm putting a lot of stuff to kind of build a community there.
Rockstars.com. Hey, Landry, if they want to go check out your podcast, where do they go?
Keys to the Commonwealth. That's more of a Entrepreneurs of Kentucky. It's a great tool I use from an AI perspective to get a lot of business. So happy to help anybody doing that wants to do that from their local perspective as well, because it's a huge revenue generator of commercial insurance for us.
Cool. All right. Well, we're going to run. Guys, as I end every show, rewards come from action, not discussion. Get your ass out from behind that desk today. Go out in the big bad world. Develop relationships. Use all this new language modeling that's out there. You will be absolutely blown away just going and asking simple questions. I remember the first couple of times I used ChatGPT, I was like, there's no way. And it just keeps getting better and better every single day. You'll make money for your family, for your wife, for your husband, for your kids' college fund, and for your parents and your in-laws out there that are struggling. Go make money for them. Write good business for the carriers that you represent, and write good business for the agencies that you represent. Bradley Flowers, I love you.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Landry.
Thank you, Landry. Guys, you're listening to the Insurance Guys podcast, and we love each one of you. Thank you so much for being a part of our family, and we'll see you back here real soon. Take care.